In my last video, I talked about some draft legislation in relation to unconditional contracts and the anti-forestalling provisions in the draft legislation. This time I want to talk about some business asset disposal relief and section 169Q elections anti-forestalling as well. The effect of these rules is basically if you haven't made a 169Q election before the date of the budget and you've done either a reorganisation or a share exchange, then if these rules apply, you're treated as having made the disposal on the date you make the election, not the date you did the transaction. So it's quite important because obviously if you're making the election after the date of the budget, then you could be looking at CGT rates of now 24% instead of the previous 20%. And if you wait until the new tax year, you'll be looking at business asset disposal relief rates of 14%. I'll link the draft legislation in the description so that you can have a detailed read of that. But effectively, it splits the anti-forestalling rules into 4 parts. There's 2 separate rules, whether it's a reorganisation or a share exchange. And each of those is then split as to when the date of the reorganisation or share exchange was made. If it was between the 6th of April 23 and the date of the budget or the day before the budget, we have one set of rules. If it was the day after up until the 5th of April 26, because remember the business asset disposal relief is being phased in, so we've currently got 10% until the end of this tax year, then we've got 14% for 25-26, and then it goes up to 18% from the 6th of April 2026. Effectively, for reorganisations, if the individual making the election continues to qualify for business asset disposal relief after the reorganisation, i.e. it's a personal company where they hold 5% or more of the share capital, and they're an employee or director, then these conditions will apply. And if they're making an election after the date of the budget or on or after the date of the budget, then it's the date that the election is made rather than the date the reorganisation was done. The share exchange anti-forestalling provisions have one of 2 conditions, which if either are met, then these rules will apply again and will be treated as making the disposal at the date the election is made. Condition A says substantially the same shareholders exist in the company before and after the transaction. That's typical if you do sort of mirror image transactions and you get 77 stamp duty relief. Condition B, I think, is the one that's easier to fall into. Same shareholders controlling the company before and after the share exchange means that these rules will apply. So if you've got just a controlling combination of shareholders that exist before and after the transaction, this is quite possibly going to be an issue for you. So I think the key message from this video is check these rules and these conditions. If they apply, then you need to make the election before the 6th of April 25. If you wait until you complete the tax return in the new tax year, then you will be stuck with both higher rates of CGT and higher rates of business asset disposal relief. So it's really important to be proactive in assessing whether these rules apply. As always, like, comment, share. It lets me know that these videos are well received, and if you have any comments or interpretation of this legislation, really interested to hear everyone's thoughts.